Is your interest in clothing more than just a desire to shop? Do you like to sew, like to draw, like to gather new looks for your friends, or think you might want to wear clothing? There are many types of careers in the clothing industry, with the right talent, training, and hard work. The major industries fall into three basic categories: the textile industry, the apparel industry, and the retail industry. The textile produces the raw materials, makes them into fine fabrics. Materials can come from farms, as with wool from sheep. They can also come from manufacturing plants, as with synthetic fibers. The majority of workers in the textile industry are employed in weaving, fishing, yarn and wools, knitting mills, and with many fiber producers. Three of all those employed work in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, and Alabama. The apparel industry turns the fiber and fabrics into clothing. The manufacturing process includes operating and developing the machinery or the factory, which then produce the garments. Whether mass-produced or custom-tailored, many people are required in the manufacturing process.
The tailor takes a series of measurements. They fill out an order form, comes to us, and we process. We examine measurements, and it goes into our designing department, and our designers will select the patterns and make all the necessary pattern adjustments. And the cutting room floor and the cutter follow the instructions. Using the pattern is selected by the designer, and it's all cut according to the specifications decided on by the tailor and by our design department. Once the garment is cut to the specification, it goes into the sewing process. The sewing process in our industry is not unlike any other industry. In a production line type of industry where you have many people trained doing specific jobs. You have at least 40 or 50 different type of operations that go into the manufacturing of a garment. You have skill levels, pocket makers, seam joiners, dark sewers, lapel sewers, edge baiters. It's just a myriad of different jobs that are involved in the manufacturing of a custom-made garment. Going through the process of the manufacturing, you have inspection stations, quality control stations, people examine what that has been performed, making sure that all the quality standards are adhered to, specifications, and standards are met, and really through the process you get a finished garment. Now, the finished garment is then thoroughly inspected by our design department, the managerial department. Everyone has a hand in inspecting the garments to make sure that they carry the standard that we set forth.
The retail industry includes all of the people needed to get the clothing from the manufacturer to you, the consumer. A retail store owner has many responsibilities.
And on the day-to-day, I would be responsible for everything. You know, the old saying, the buck stops here. It has to stop someplace. So in a sense, president of a company, be responsible for the buying function, for the buyers, what they're buying, help coordinate all the promotions, work with our full-time advertising sales promotion lady, and she coordinates all those kinds of things. I work with my nephew, who's the controller for the bank, work with the banks, work with our CPA firm, work with the company attorney, legal man, of all those kinds of things. We try to be on the selling floor to be sure we meet people, to be sure we know what's going on. We don't want to become distant from it, because again, a small family business is pretty much knowing the customer, knowing her needs and what's going on there. Sometimes we might spend 15, 20 minutes visiting someone, an old customer, just for the sake of being able to use one of the Witzies, so that we know that we're allowed.
Sometimes skills needed are learned through on-the-job training, as with a family-owned business. However, it is usually necessary to have some formal training.
Growing up in the family business was very helpful. We learned a lot from sales. We learned a lot from visiting other stores, from talking to other merchants, from reading trade periodicals. Today, I don't think you could get by that. You really have to have some marketing, some of these courses, some sales courses, business math. We should know English and all those good things that really round us out.
Fashion coordinators, or buyers, look for trends in fabrics and style, and plan which fashions will sell 1 or 2 years from now. Research and training for fashion buyers are a part of this job, which carries a great deal of responsibility. College education and years of on-the-job training are needed for success in this career.
Probably one of the things that we really need across to every girl who thinks she wants to be this one buyer. A lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but you also need to be a business person to be a buyer. It isn't just picking it out and saying, I'll take 2 of these and I want 2 of these and I want 16 of these. It's not really what it's all about. You have to make sure that what you're buying fit into your merchandise mix. It also fits into a pricing point concept. You also have to make sure you're not getting ripped off.
Display artists create the displays in the windows of the store as well as throughout the different departments. Display artists can work in one store or travel to stores in a given area to create attractive displays. Salespeople working in a retail clothing store need to talk with customers, discover what they need, help them find the clothing which will look good on them, and then encourage them to buy the merchandise.
When the customer comes in, you kind of size them up, and they say they need a size 6 and they're actually a 10. Why, help a little bit. Don't say, oh no, you don't you don't need a 6, you need a 10. This might be nice for you. And if they're picking out the wrong type of a style that you know is going to be wrong and it's going to look horrible on them, they're going to lose the sale. Show them something else. Oh, this just came in. It's new. It might be nice on you. Would you try that too? So it's a real challenge, and people are so much fun to work with.
In the retail industry, as well as the fashion industry in general, many people are involved in the market or promotion of clothing.
I'm the marketing director for Wessex, and that encompasses, I do all of the newspaper advertising, I do direct mail pieces. I have people that work for me that do all the store, some people that do the visual merchandising, which includes doing the windows, dressing mannequins, setting up displays.
Copywriters write the adding for magazines, newspapers, catalogs, and television. Fashioners have strong English and writing skills, and a talent for powerful, concise, in addition to knowledge of fashion. Photographers shoot pictures of models in studios and on location. A good eye for color, composition, fashion, plus excellent graphic skills are a must. Models may wear, use, or demonstrate product for the purpose of displaying or advertising. Models of fashion shows or work as runway models when designers show their new line fashion at the beginning of each season. Strict requirements are a part of this career. A graphic designer will use the written copy and photographs along with his or her graphic design skill to produce newspaper advertisements, flyers, and in-store promotions. There are other jobs available outside of the 3 major industries.
I'm a professor of costume design at a university in the Midwest, and I wanted to tell you some of the things about costume design. We go off and we do research, or we sit and doodle and make little sketches of ideas that may have come from our historic research, but they have just come out of our somewhere or out of the end of the pencil some.
what results is what we call rendering. And what I'm holding here is for the character of Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. This was a production that I designed several years ago, and it was made into the design was used for the making of this particular costume here, which came out a deal like the drawing made. Designers will take the renderings into a costume technician or costumer or a costume shop manager. Someone is responsible for seeing that the costume gets built.
The design bring in the paintings or renderings, as they're called, of the costumes. And we in the costume shop interpret them, or look at them, and decide what we can do to make that into a garment.
Preserving and storing clothing from the past is often part of the job of a museum curator.
I work in a historic museum. It contains a lot of textiles. Of costume, we also have textiles throughout the house. So taking care of the textiles is a lot of my job. To care for the collection, the big portion of my responsibility is minimizing what we call agents of deterioration. Those are things like ultraviolet light, high relative humidity, insect infestations, physical damage, often the result of mishandling. So my job is trying to prevent those things from happening while the objects are under my care. This is one of the ways to store textiles. This is a flat object, a tablecloth, and it is beneficial to the object to be stored so there's no stress on a small area of the tablecloth. So what we do is roll it onto a tube. This is an acid-free tube lined with acid-free paper. So we're protected against any acid that may be in the inlet, and then we're rolling it so that all the weight of the object is evenly distributed.
This is a dress container. This is the preferred way of storing garments flat so that there is no fibers at all. And what we do is fold it in order to get it into a box, and then we pad out all the area which we have folded so that the fibers aren't broken by the sharp creases. And we also go 6 months or so and rearrange the costumes so that folds change location from time to time. Notice that I'm wearing white gloves, something we do to protect the artifact from my skin, I absorb anything that may be on my. And interestingly, we are now starting to protect ourselves from the artifacts. Mid to late Victorian period saw the advent of what we call shot silk, weighted silk. This was a chemical process which actually coated the fibers of silk and gave it a lot more sheen and rustle and weight. And the recent studies has indicated one of the chemicals used in this process was arsenic. So museum curators and conservators are now advised to protect themselves against the possible infiltration of the objects with arsenic. Someone who repairs or alters clothing needs to know the fundamentals of machine and handling. You might be responsible for sewing on a button, repairing a garment, or even changing the overall size of a garment. And finally, teachers are important at all levels in the fashion world, whether you're teaching basics of sewing, marketing, sales, design, photography, promotion, restoration, or repair. Salaries vary in the fashion field, but generally, the more responsibility your position carries, the higher your salary. Some jobs, especially those in retail management, demand long hours. Like anywhere, a position in the fashion world demands dedication. But if you have the desire and the talent, a fashion career can be a good career for you.